The film follows Oh Dae-soo, a Korean businessman with a wife and daughter. On his daughter's 4th birthday, he is picked up by police for being drunk and disorderly. He harasses several other people at the police station, showing them the angel's wings he bought for his daughter. He is bailed out by his old friend Ju Hwan, and while Ju Hwan is in a phone booth talking with Dae-soo's daughter Yoon Hee and his wife Kim Ja-hyun, Dae-soo is kidnapped by unidentified people. Dae-soo has been kept in a private prison for 2 months with no word of who is holding him or why. He receives food through a small hatch at the bottom of the door and is gassed into unconsciousness whenever he becomes suicidal. His only contact with the outside world is through the television, where he learns that his wife has been murdered, his daughter has been sent to foster parents, and that he is himself the prime suspect. This, along with his continued captivity, causes Dae-soo to slide into near madness and violent hallucinations. Dae-soo is imprisoned for 10 years and is unable to figure out who his captor is. He tattoos lines in his arm for each year and trains by shadowboxing and punching at the walls of his prison. When one of his deliveries of fried dumplings turns out to have an extra metal chopstick, he uses it to slowly dig a hole into one of the walls. Over the next 10 years, he works out, follows current events on TV, and loosens enough bricks to glimpse the outside world. He calculates that he will need another month to make the hole large enough to escape. Dae-soo is gassed again, and a lady hypnotizes him. He wakes up to unfamiliar surroundings and is set free on the rooftop of a building. He sees a man sitting on the edge of the building with his small dog. The man is suicidal and says to Dae-soo, "Even though I'm no better than a beast, don't I have the right to live?" He then attempts to jump off the edge, but Oh Dae-soo grabs his necktie and saves him from death. Dae-soo tells the man to delay his death, but he utters, "What?" The scene ends at the point in which the movie began. Oh Dae-soo is an imprisoned man who tells his story to a despondent man. As he's leaving the front entrance, a suicidal man lands on a car behind him and kills himself and his pet. He wanders the streets of the city and finds that his 10 out of 15 years of solitary training have paid off. He meets Mido, a girl who works in a sushi bar, and an unknown man who claims to be the one who imprisoned him. Dae-soo gulps down an entire living squid, much to Mido's shock, and collapses with a high fever. Mido takes pity on him and takes him in. Over the next few days, Mido finds out that Dae-soo's daughter has been adopted by a couple in Sweden. Dae-soo decides not to contact her yet and goes home with Mido, but finds out that she has been chatting on her computer with a person who reveals to be Dae-soo's captor. Dae-soo feels he cannot trust Mido and leaves. Dae-soo goes to various Chinese restaurants with the name Blue Dragon in the name to determine which restaurant it was. He finds and ties up the prison's manager, Mr. Park, and tortures him with a claw hammer, 15 for each year he was imprisoned. He learns that the facility is a private prison for people who want someone locked away. Upon leaving, the prison guards gang up on Dae-soo, but he fights them off with his claw hammer and bare fists. Gravely injured, Dae-soo is put into a taxi by a man passing by, who sends the taxi off to Mido's exact address, revealing he is Dae-soo's captor. Dae-soo is unable to do anything about it in his weakened state. Dae-soo visits his old friend Ju Hwan in his internet shop and plays a tape recording for him. Ju Hwan identifies Mido's online chat friend Evergreen, and they initiate a chat. Dae-soo returns home and tries to force more information from Mido. Suddenly, Ju Hwan calls, saying that he has tracked down Evergreen's user ID and found the owner's details. Dae-soo realizes it is an apartment in the building across the street from Mido's apartment, and meets his captor, a man called Woo Jin, and his bodyguard Mr. Han in one of the rooms. Dae-soo tries to attack, but is incapacitated by Han. Woo Jin offers to play a game with Dae-soo. He must find out why all this happened to him in the next 5 days. If he fails, Mido will die on July 5th. If he succeeds, Woo Jin promises to kill Dae-soo, and Mido find out that Mr. Park and his gang of thugs have captured and sexually abused Mido. Mr. Han offers Mr. Park a suitcase full of money, but Dae-soo threatens to cut off Park's hand. Dae-soo and Mido leave the apartment and grow closer together. Woo Jin leaves a package in their room containing Mr. Park's severed hand, and Dae-soo realizes that Woo Jin can hear every word he says. They go to a shop and have a wire removed from Woo Jin's shoe. The next day, Dae-soo discovers that Evergreen refers to his old high school, where Woo Jin was once a fellow student. He calls his friend Ju Hwan, who confirms the finding, and Woo Jin beats Ju Hwan to death while Dae-soo listens over the phone. Dae-soo tracks down Mr. Park and agrees to hold Mido in Dae-soo's old prison facility to keep her safe from Woo Jin. He also confirms that Dae-soo was drugged and hypnotized several times while imprisoned. Dae-soo finds another classmate and discusses Woo-jin and his sister with her. Apparently, there were growing rumors about the sister's sex life and her possibly being pregnant at the time. Dae-soo has a sudden recollection of memory. One day at school, Dae-soo had unintentionally witnessed Woo-jin and his sister Soo-ah while engaging in a sexual encounter. Eventually, the rumor started a life of its own, and Soo-ah threw herself over a dam on July 5th, killing herself. Dae-soo realizes the solution to the first clue. A grain of sand and a rock both sink in water with the same speed. Woo-jin holds Dae-soo responsible for his. Dae-soo finds out where Woo-jin lives and confronts him with all of this information. He accuses Woo-jin of creating a search for a memory that was erased using hypnosis, but Woo-jin claims not to have messed with Dae-soo's memory. However, his slip of the tongue grew out of proportion, and it was rumored that Soo-ah had become pregnant. Woo-jin then sidesteps these allegations with an even more devastating revelation. He gives Dae-soo a photo album, the first of which is a family portrait of himself, his wife, and his daughter. The remaining photos in the album are of his daughter growing older, until Dae-soo discovers that her daughter is none other than Mi-do. Woo-jin manipulates both of their lives, secretly taking care of Mi-do from the age of 3 and hypnotizing each of them independently to cause Dae-soo and Mi-do to commit incest. Dae-soo goes into a. Dae-soo learns that Mr. Park is still working for Woo-jin, having been granted the ownership of the prison in exchange for severing his hand. Mr. Park is with Mi-do and is ordered to give a similar album to her at Woo-jin's command. Dae-soo is horrified and begs Woo-jin not to let this happen, and he gets on his hands and knees and starts to bark like a dog. Woo-jin holds a handkerchief to his mouth and is laughing with smugness. With his thirst for vengeance finally spent, Woo-jin spares Mi-do and readies to kill himself and Dae-soo with the same bullet. However, he changes his mind and gives Dae-soo the remote switch to his own pacemaker, which activates a tape recorder. Woo-jin exits the penthouse in an elevator, leaving Dae-soo alone to be tormented by a tape recording of his incestuous lovemaking with his own daughter. The movie follows Woo-jin's guilt-ridden memory of his sister's death. He is holding Soo-ah over the dam, trying to save her from killing herself, and she asks him to let go of her. Back in the elevator, Woo-jin realizes that even after getting his revenge against Dae-soo, nothing will take his pain away. In an epilogue, Dae-soo goes to a hypnotist and asks for her help to forget the secret. The hypnotist tells Dae-soo to imagine himself back at Woo-jin's penthouse, and Woo-jin is able to escape. The hypnotist uses hypnosis to split Dae-soo into two personalities: the beast, who remembers the secret, and the ignorant, who doesn't know. When the hypnotist asks Dae-soo to split into the two people, a reflection of himself appears in the window. The hypnotist tells Dae-soo that the monster will walk away, and for every step he takes, he will age a year and die when he reaches 70. The ignorant Dae-soo mourns the loss of a major part of his life. When Dae-soo wakes up, he is left lying on the cold ground with a delirious feeling. He meets up with Mi-do, and they embrace. Mi-do tells Dae-soo that she loves him, and a large smile appears on his face, which slowly disintegrates into a tortured grimace. And this is the end of the video. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and support us with like and suggest a movie you would like to recap it.